have a hammer with them so heavy that if every single person on the face of this earth got together and tried moving an inch, would they be able to move it? Would these angels descend for a soul of a believer? Never. Why? Because this is a dear soul. This is a soul that Allah is pleased with. The narration says, the beautiful angels, dark faces, blue eyes, they will descend in his grave. And they will say, tell us, who is your Lord? Who is your Lord? And what would he say? My Lord is Allah. Why? Because he had time for Allah. He had time for Allah. When it come time for worship, tahajjud, night prayer, Ramadan, the 5 daily prayers, he was standing in front of the Almighty Allah, worshipping him. And the angel will pose the second question to him. And they will say, tell us, what is your deen? And what would he say? He will say, my deen is Islam. Because he was that person. When he come to Islam, he acted upon it. He wasn't half-half. When he came into Islam, he followed it complete. He didn't bend no rules. He followed Islam complete. And the angels will say, tell us, who is this man who was sent amongst you? Who was the man who was sent amongst you? Would he say Shilpa Shetty, J-Lo, Beyonce? What would he say? Would he say Tupac, Biggie, Nas, Busta Rhymes? No, he will say Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Why? Because when he came to Sunnah and acting upon the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was that person who acted upon the Sunnah. There was no beating the bush. He acted upon the Sunnah, whether it was by eating, whether it was by sleeping, whether it was by dealing with the non-Muslims, whether it was by living with society, whether it was by dealing with the neighbors, he acted upon the Sunnah. And when he acted upon the Sunnah, indeed this person will say, the man who was sent amongst us was none other than Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then at that time the angels will say, look above you. Look above you. And what would he see? The gates open towards Jannah. The gates open towards Jannah. And the angels will say that this is your abode because you were the obedient one. When it came time to worship, you were the obedient one. This is your abode. And then the angels will say, look beneath you. Look beneath you. And what would he see? He will see the fire of hell. And the angels will say, O pure soul, you were the obedient one. Allah has saved you from this. Allah the Almighty has saved you from this. And then a caller will call out. And he will say, my servant has spoken the truth. Give him the beddings of Jannah. Give him the clothing of Jannah. And the gates of Jannah will be open for this person. The gates of Jannah will be open for this person. And if a person who lives a life of obedience, acting upon the Sunnah, acting upon Islam completely, then indeed Allah will honor this person at the time of death, and he will live a life of luxury in his grave. The hadith recorded by Bayhaqi on the authority of Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu, what does he say? He says, the one occasion a group of companions, they were walking past a grave and they seen a tent and they moved the tent. And when they removed the tent, what did they see? They seen a grave. And what did they hear? They heard a recitation. They heard a recitation from the grave. The companions, they said, we stopped there and we listened to the recitation. And someone was reciting Surah Mulk. And he says, after his recitation, we finished. And we went towards the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We said to Muhammad, "O Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, this strange thing happened today. This strange thing happened. Someone was reciting from the grave." And the Prophet ﷺ said that if he was reciting, then this is the recitation, Surah Mulk, that will save a person from the punishment of the grave. He recited it in the dunya and he's reciting it in his grave. And who hasn't heard of the great Mu'adh bin Jabal radiyallahu anhu? That companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was on the battlefield, and when he's standing on the battlefield, the enemy strikes him with a spear, and Mu'adh drops to the ground. And when Mu'adh drops to the ground, what does he say? Abdurrahman ibn Auf, he says that Mu'adh was reciting something, or he was saying something, but we couldn't hear it. Then we made out what he was saying. And I said to Mu'adh, "Oh Mu'adh, is there anyone there?" Mu'adh replied by saying, "I see something that you do not see." And what does he see? He says that Allah the Almighty has honored me. He has honored me. And how did he honor me? He says that I was patient at the death of my son. This is why Allah has honored me. And how Allah has honored me? He goes, my son has come to me. And he said to me that the Prophet ﷺ, the angels, the martyrs, the Sahaba, they are all formed their lines ready to do your janazah. Why? Because this is the honor of a person who lives a life of obedience. Abdurrahman says, soon after Mu'adh drops, his head drops, he faints. He says time passes. Time passes, and he raises his hands and he's shaking hands with someone. The companions, they were there. They go, we didn't see anyone. It was like if he was shaking hands with an invisible person. And he was saying, welcome, welcome, welcome. And his hand drops. And the soul of Mu'adh bin Jabal radiyallahu anhu extracts. The last story, and I will conclude. 1929, the king of Iraq, he says that I had a dream. I had a dream with the two companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They have come to me, and they said to me that the water from the river Tigris is seeping through our graves. Help us. The king of the time, he says, I dug a place up between the grave and the river Tigris to ascertain the truth. And what happens? He goes, there was no sign of water. He says, so I dismissed the dream. He goes yet again. He had the same dream over and over and over again. The same dream that the two companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam are saying that take us out. take us, save us. The water from the river Tigris is seeping through our graves. He says, so at that time, I took mashwara with the people of Iraq, especially with the ulama. He says, so I gathered all of them. He says, I informed them about the story, about the dream I had. He says, when I informed them about the dream, he says, one of the scholars of that time, he got up and he said that I also had the same dream. So he says that it was agreed upon that the graves of these two companions will be dug up. He says a date was fixed. The date was fixed on a certain day that the graves of these two companions will be dug up. And if the water is seeping through, relocate them to a different place. He says that at that time it was close to the season of Hajj. So the Hujjaj of that time, when the news reached Mecca and Medina, he says at that time, he says these people requested us that delay it for a while, because we want to attend as well. So after, when he was delayed, he says the date came when we dug up the two graves. He goes, we dug up the two graves. 13 centuries. For 13 centuries they were in their grave. He says when we looked at their body, they were completely intact without a scratch. And this has happened only in 1929. And says we took the bodies out and we moved them next to Salman al-Farsi. Next to his grave, a hole was dug. An eye specialist at that time, a non-Muslim of that time, he says, witnessing this, he says, I looked inside the two companions' eyes, and he was an eye specialist. He says the glow that normally disappears within months of a person's death, this glow is still inside these two companions. The glow is still inside these two companions. And what was flowing on his lips a couple of seconds after? Ashhadu la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. He accepted Islam. And many people who were there at that time accepted Islam. And the bodies were moved. And this narration that can be found in Jani Dida, page number 55, 58. An encyclopedia, if you just type in the name Abdullah ibn Jabir, you will see that this article will also be present there. And a person who lives a life of obedience, indeed Allah will honor him. Because Islam is not about gangsterness. No, it's about people going around gunning people down. It's not about drug dealing. It's not about you thinking you're it. Islam is complete. Every single thing in the Quran, the Muslims shouldn't deny anything and they should accept it blindly. Why? Because this is the book that shook the world. And I pray to the Almighty Allah that Allah makes us from amongst those people who Allah honors. And Allah save us from the punishment of the grave. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.